concludes public hearings. We'll move into public portion. Any members of the public would like to be heard on any matter at all? You have 3 minutes at the podium. Who's going first?
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Lewis. I own a green technology company out east called ITM. In fact, we just budgeted for some backup power, which is a good thing. I'm here to talk about a resolution to support the public election of trustees of LIPA, Power Authority. I'm going to give you some background, I'm going to make my point, and I'm going to leave you the benefit. Background is last spring I found a law that essentially said that the trustees of LIPA would be elected. So I ran around and got 600 signatures and consequently worked with Mr. Fisher here and filed a petition to elect us, or to put us on the ballot, and with another fellow named Bill Drupp. And consequently, the Board of Elections didn't do their job or their duty to put us on the ballot. So consequently, we had to sue them. And it went all the way up to it's in the Court of Appeals right now. It's also in the Federal Eastern District Court, and consequently, we're still at a stalemate, but things are looking more favorable. But to circumvent all of that, there's this resolution that we want you to adopt, which essentially will spell out for you in more detail what exactly is wrong with the current laws and what laws are beneficial to the town of Southampton. By having elected trustees, you'll have East End local people like myself representing you in Albany, and right now the governor, Steve Ballone, and Mr. Mangano all have this lawsuit sitting on their desks and are opposing us. And Mr. Fisher will elaborate on why that might be occurring. So the benefit, or the point is that if you go forward with this resolution, you'll have East End representation. And it's not that you elect us by default. It would be any one of you could run for the office, sort of thing. And the benefit to that, again, is lower electric bills, competition, and that's primarily my motivation. I compete directly with LIPA. I have 15 technologies to crush your electric bill, and 5 to make the grid your backup. Now, wouldn't have that been nice during the storm? You'd have your own power, making your own power. In fact, instead of budgeting for backup power, you could be budgeting right now to create your own power right here locally. And I've already surveyed the schools as part of some RFPs early on. So I know precisely your infrastructure here, and we can help you do that.
30 seconds.
With that said, I look forward to your endorsement of our resolution. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Greg Fisher. I'm actually a Riverhead resident, but I'm also an elected director for an organization known as Americans for Legal Reform based out of Huntington, pretty large membership. I discovered a while back that the repealer of elected LIPA trustees was completely illegal under federal law. They never looked for another way to manage LIPA after they'd created the original LIPA law, which gave us elected trustees. They stole elections, then they took our rights to vote away. That was illegal. As well, they did it in a legal way under New York State law, which was they did not have home rule approval. There was a home rule approval for the original LIPA law. They did it completely according to the book. And when they took our voting rights away, there was no home rule approval. So in a sense, what I'm bringing to you today, and I've provided copies to the clerk, the county, town attorney, and all members of council, it is in a sense a home rule message to be provided, as Mr. Lewis said, to Mr. Mangano, Mr. Ballone, and the governor, who are sitting with lawsuits, and any one of them agreeing now to this lawsuit to allow elected trustees would cause an absolute revolution in LIPA. The problem we have is LIPA, even by the governor's own admission, is a headless beast. He can't stop it. He can't control it. Nobody can. They passed a law in 2009, which made it so that trustees are no longer appointed trustees are no longer accountable to the appointing authority at all. Well, that means they're not accountable to the people at all. So in an attempt to reform agencies and authorities, they made it far worse for us. LIPA just passed a 2.5% increase, greater than the tax cap, at a time when energy prices were dropping, the fuel prices were dropping. So what's going to happen when the fuel prices turn around? It's going to be crushing for the towns. So Mr. Lewis and I have a hidden agenda behind this, which is if we do get elected trustees, and if we were the ones to be in, we would have instantly opened it up to competition, as Mr. Lewis said, but we'd also open it up to municipal power authorities, a matter I've discussed very at a cursory level with the supervisor. Riverhead Town did have proposals for that some 25 years ago, 15 years ago, and it was voted down because they said, well, electricity is so cheap, why would you ever want to do that? But if you look at what just happened in Greenport, they had only a 1-hour blackout, and they provide their citizens with 40% lower electric costs throughout the rest of the year. They're very happy. As well, that has a deep impact on the taxes and the school budgets. Energy is a big line item. So to not only just have cheaper electricity, but now to say we're going to go to geothermal power and also take us off of oil, you could have 75% impact on those energy line items, those fuel oil line items. This is very, very important policy. It's very important for us to get transparency. I stand on Mr. Lynch's comment about the importance of transparency to government. LIPA is government. It is a municipal subdivision of the state of New York with no transparency and no accountability.
30 seconds.
Your approval of this resolution, not necessarily in this form, but as you so see fit. And I will send you all the electronic versions so that you can edit it to your own liking. This is very important. And I'm going to go to every town in Long Island, as well as the 2 county legislatures, to make this point as well. All we need is 1 or 3 persons to approve, and we've reformed our LIPA problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to get into a whole discussion on this, but I do want to make it clear that I actually do not support your version of it. I agree that there's much about LIPA that could use reform, not to mention the way in which its trustees are appointed to that board. That said, first of all, I'm a little confused in your effort whether you are looking for an ability to create municipal or local power authorities, even private power regenerating authorities, because that's a whole other issue. And so I just want to make sure you're not confusing the two. But I think we have to be very clear on that a utility business like LIPA doesn't only provide electricity. They make sure that trees and branches and roadways and whatnot are cleared and maintained in order to avoid as much disruption to the provision of power. There's a lot of infrastructure and equipment that goes into doing that. It comes at a very high cost. And I do think that what we do know is that there are perhaps transparency issues, there are communication issues, there are, in my opinion, issues with how commissioners are appointed to that board. But in my opinion, it should not be an independently elected, because to me, people who serve on a board like that need to have very, very appropriate experience. That said, I support what the governor and the 2 county executives support, which is that there be a process for how these individuals are appointed that, first of all, spans geography fairly, so there is representation from all the localities that are dependent on LIPA as the utility provider, and but that also have some appropriate level of experience and expertise to serve that board well. So I'm just going to say right away that I thank you for your effort, but it's not one that I support in its current format. But we're not going to get into discussion. But I just, so that everyone's, in terms of my position, I thank you for your effort, but it's not one that I can support. I think there are other ways to look at it, and there are other efforts. I know Assemblyman Thiel and State Senator Laval are working hard on this issue and have a slightly different approach. So we can certainly have the discussion on it, but it's not a resolution that I will be bringing forward. Anyone else who'd like to address the town board on any matter? All right, close public portion then and move into the resolutions. The first resolution is 2012-1039, which is sponsored by Councilwoman Fleming, which she has asked me